It's Friday, October 9th, and the time for your Barbados Today news update. Barbados' public transport system to get a further boost as government commits to order an additional 13 electric buses. Prime Minister Mia Mottley made the announcement last night and disclosed that Cabinet made the decision on the purchase yesterday. The country has a current fleet of 33 electric buses, which hit the road back in August. Addressing a political meeting at Newberry St George, the Prime Minister revealed that government would also look at the option of manufacturing at least 10 electric buses in Barbados.
Today, the Cabinet of Barbados agreed to buy another 13 electric buses and then to look towards manufacturing at least 10 electric buses in Barbados so that mechanics and others, upholsterers, can get work in this country over the next 2 years building some buses too. That is the difference. So when we ask you what this by-election is really about, it is about giving the country, giving the Parliament, giving the Labour Party, but above all else, giving you, the people of St George North, somebody who can uplift this country, somebody who can uplift you, somebody who can literally uplift you to face the difficulties of this time.
Explaining again why her ruling Barbados Labour Party chose trade unionist Tony Moore to run on its ticket for the St George North seat in the November 11 by-election, the Prime Minister also disclosed that some 500 people across the country would be employed to assist with the island's home help program.
We've made these decisions to use the taxpayers' money in ways that benefit the taxpayers. And that's what this by-election is about. Having confidence and faith in the people who you elect to do the things that they say they would do, and to be able to do things that will make your life better, to make your children's life better, and the older people's lives better. So Roy, on Sunday night, told you about those people who have to go to work, but they don't know what to do with the children, and they don't know what to do with the elderly parents. We have to become that caring society. And Cynthia Ford, as we speak, is settling a program to be able to hire 500 or so people in communities across Barbados to be able to help the home help program to take care of the elderly in their communities. And we believe that it is necessary now, because more than ever, you need to make sure that you keep these persons who raised us safe against this pandemic.
The Barbados economy, which has already been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, could suffer catastrophic loss as a result of being blacklisted by the European Union Council and by any perception of fraud or money laundering taking place. That warning is coming from public sector reform expert Mark Gokul, who's the Chief Executive Officer and founder of the London-based International Centre for Parliamentary Studies, cautioning that a mere perception of any wrongdoing could easily damage a country's reputation and lead to a number of developmental issues. He told Barbados Today that an insufficient regulatory regime could lead to more hardship as a result of various sanctions. He said if governments are engaging in multi-year foreign debt investment strategies, then being placed on warnings or blacklists by international regulatory or monetary agencies will seriously damage those investments. The Brown Sugar restaurant appears to be among the latest casualties of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has been taking a toll on players within the hospitality sector. The restaurant, which once boasted of being the home of sweet Bajan cuisine, has seemingly also fallen out of favor with former employees. Our Kareem Smith tells us more.
The Aquatic Gap St Michael establishment that first opened its doors in the early 1970s has been closed for the most part since the national shutdowns of April and May, reopening briefly for Father's Day celebrations and to facilitate some takeout orders. Sources close to the situation informed Barbados Today that as workers struggle to make ends meet, Receiving only sporadic payments from the National Insurance Scheme, they were deterred from seeking alternative employment and assured that the restaurant would be reopening soon. Recently, workers received the shock of their lives when Human Resources Manager Gwen Cummins informed them that the business would no longer be operational. Having received no formal letters explaining the company's position since its temporary closure, workers are fearful that outstanding commitments to them may not be honored. When contacted for a response to the concerns, owner Andre Donawa abruptly. When the Barbados Today team visited Aquatic Gap, the establishment, which once boasted of being the home of sweet Bajan cuisine, was a shell of its former self. The gates were locked and the grounds were beginning to look extremely unkempt. Since being informed of their former employee's position, former brown sugar workers have approached the Labour Department seeking help to secure their outstanding monies. Barbados Today understands that an agreement with the employer to have the monies paid on Tuesday of this week failed to materialize, but workers are holding out hope that they will receive it by the end of this week. Efforts to reach the Labour officer who is said to be managing the case were unsuccessful, and the staff of approximately 40 people is not unionized. Sources within the establishment have also indicated that the restaurant was rumored to have been up for sale, but it is unclear whether any such plans had materialized. Kareem Smith for Barbados Today.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from our regional neighbors, the general election bell sounds in St Vincent and the Grenadines as Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves announces that voters will go to the polls on November 5th to elect a new government. He made the announcement during a virtual public meeting of his ruling Unity Labour Party last evening. The 74-year-old Prime Minister is seeking his fifth consecutive term in office.
The 11th chapter of Deuteronomy represents for me in our circumstances the 11th month of the year, November. The fifth verse is the fifth day. General elections will be held on Thursday, November the 5th, 2020. Upon my advice, Her Excellency Dame Susan Duggan, Governor General, is dissolving Parliament tomorrow, Friday, October the 9th. Nomination Day will be on October the 20th, 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Chief Medical Officer and other health professionals have been discussing election day protocols with the Supervisor of Elections. I am sure that the National Monitoring and Consultative Mechanism and the representatives of the respective political parties will be consulted prior to the finalization of these important protocols. I expect that these general elections will be held in a peaceful environment. The Supervisor of Elections and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security have assured me that all practical matters requisite for the holding of free and fair elections in accordance with law are in place.
And finally, on the international scene, 13 members of an anti-government group have been charged in connection to a plot to abduct and overthrow Michigan's Democratic governor. The details in this report from Reuters TV.
13 members of 2 militia groups who were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer thanked law enforcement on Thursday after they arrested 13 people, many linked to an anti-government militia group involved in alleged plots to abduct the Democratic governor and attack the state capitol building.
I also want to thank Attorney General Nessel and the U.S. attorneys, Burge and Schneider, and their teams for pursuing criminal charges that hopefully will lead to convictions, bringing these sick and depraved men to justice.
Earlier at a press conference in Grand Rapids, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan, Andrew Burge, detailed a complicated plot to violently overthrow Michigan's government, an operation FBI agents became aware of on social media.
The alleged conspirators used operational security measures, including communicating by encrypted messaging platforms, conducted coordinated surveillance on the governor's vacation home, discussed detonating explosive devices to divert police from the area of the home, and that the group successfully detonated an improvised explosive device wrapped with shrapnel to test its anti-personnel capabilities.
Whitmer has been a frequent target of President Donald Trump over her efforts to enforce social distancing measures and tweeted in April, quote, "Liberate Michigan."
Stoking distrust, fomenting anger.
From the state's capital Thursday, the governor accused Trump of encouraging extremist groups, citing comments he made to the far-right Proud Boys at last month's presidential debate.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.